Alrighty, good morning. So our topic today is Mexico and the World Trade Organization. Today we're going to talk about a couple of different fundamentals. So first things first, we're going to talk about the basic economy of Mexico. We're then going to go into the main concerns, the issues that we have today in the economy of Mexico. And then we're going to try to give our recommendations on what we need to do to solve these issues. Last but not least, the global impacts and what our decisions for Mexico are going to create. And last but not least, any questions you might have from the audience. So, the economy of Mexico. The economy of Mexico has a gross domestic product in 2016 of roughly $1,046,002. That breaks down to per capita of $9,630. So this graph shows Mexico's exports. Technically, we have 5 categories in this one chart. We have fuels and mining productions, we have agriculture, we have manufacturing, and last but not least, we do have other. These 4 topics show us the main ways that we export here in Mexico. The main one is manufacturing. So 81.9% of all of the exports are part of manufacturing. So that shows how vital this one industry is for Mexico. For imports, it's the same 4 categories, just the numbers vary just slightly. So the fuels and mining production are 8.9%, agriculture at 7%, and then manufacturing at 81.1%. So one thing I want to make sure is known that on both of those charts, manufacturing is the highest percentage. So in regards to our policies that we're going to talk about today for Mexico, we need to ensure that manufacturing is always upheld, that we need to make sure that we take care of our manufacturing and ensure that we are put in the right spots, that way our economy does not suffer, because that is the biggest element of our economy right now. So our main concerns are what we need to work on for Mexico. If you look at this graph, it is quite obvious that this is this country of Mexico. On both sides of the country, we notice that we have the Pacific Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. If you have a border on water, it is obviously known that you're going to have ports, you're going to have fishing, and also you're going to have other marine life-based businesses. For Mexico, we have an issue of overfishing. Overfishing is causing a big issue in Mexico, not just right now, but it's causing an issue for the future, because we are getting to the point of, if we're overfishing, we're not allowing that one species to reproduce. We're not allowing that one species to get back up to the numbers, so that way it is a steady population rate for the future. If we overfish too much, we get to the point where they become extinct, and we're not protecting the future of our economy and not allowing the fishing industry to continue throughout the years to come. So if you look at this map, we have 4 countries, including Mexico, that in 2014 have announced that they are willing and able and promise to introduce peer-reviewed fossil fuel subsidies programs into their country and into their way of business. So these 4 countries are some of the first ones to be able to agree to this. It is known that fossil fuels are the #1 human-induced element into the atmosphere that causes climate change. Therefore, this one topic has been extremely pushed to be reduced, so that way we don't have more issues with climate change. Climate change is dramatically changing the way that some of our ecosystems are working. For instance, we have ice caps melting, we have ocean levels rising, we have temperature changes either within the continental United States and Mexico. There are very different, many issues out there, but climate change truly is an issue, so we're taking a stance with it here today in Mexico. Also, the last element here on this slide shows how big of a push that there is against this one policy. For instance, the global annual government spending in subsidies to fossil fuel energy is estimated at $333 billion by the International Monetary Fund. That's not just a couple $1,000s, ladies and gentlemen. That's a huge figure that shows that this is a huge issue that we do have some resistance to. So some solutions to these. Essentially, it's pretty easy. What Mexico needs to seek is legislation from the World Trade Organization. There are so many different policies, agreements, and groups that Mexico is involved in currently, but There is not one uniform single piece of legislation from the World Trade Organization. For the 11th conference in December, Mexico needs to ensure that the World Trade, or the Minstrel Conference, takes it seriously and ensures that there is one piece of legislation that takes care of these issues. So, global impacts. Overfishing, it can lead to an extinction of one race. It can also create an unbalanced ecosystem. It can even affect the food chains and then also change the entire life cycle of the oceans, the seas, and the marine life. Fossil fuels, like I said earlier, they're the #1 leading cause of climate change control issues. Therefore, we need to get this under our belt. Reform would reduce the heating rate and would reduce the rate that our whole entire Earth starts to heat up. We also need a global policy that would enforce the reform, meaning all these different agreements, policies, and groups that Mexico is involved in, it's just a promise. There is no consequence if they go against it, meaning if they overfish, there's no consequences for overfishing. The World Trade Organization needs to get active in this regard and ensure that the countries are doing their part in these agreements. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we went over the basics of the economy of Mexico, the main concerns, my recommendations for the future of Mexico, global impacts, and last but not least, any questions from the audience. Dr. Gupta, I sincerely thank you for everything that you've done for me this semester. I know it's not been easy nor the best to work with. I do truly apologize for that, but thank you for your time and effort during this. I truly appreciate it. Thank you.